Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and a first round pick for Ja Morant. We're talking Grizzlies offseason. Let's go. What do you think about that trade?
I am saying no and hanging up the phone immediately. Maybe I don't even take the time to say no because that's still a waste of my time. Listen, Jaylen Brown is a phenomenal player, and I am sure that with Ja Morant's recent issues, there are people out there who would value him above Ja Morant just in a one for one environment. But just based on his game and his mentality, Jaylen Brown is not a franchise player. He's an excellent supporting piece in the right situation. And I do believe that at his peak, he is an all NBA level talent. Now, I think he lucked into all NBA this year with the amount of forwards that were injured and just didn't really play enough games or have enough of a resume, but are clearly better than Jaylen Brown. And so, again, he backed his way into a supermax. But he is that level of player. Um, I just wouldn't want him as the face of your franchise, and so you're never going to trade away the face of the Grizzlies, the best player in Grizzlies franchise history already, to get somebody who's at best a number two. But let me throw one back at you, okay?
Okay.
I still don't like it, but this one I would have to listen to, okay? If you told me it was Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first round pick for Ja,
hmm
I'm at least going to entertain the conversation for a second. I'm still eventually probably going to say no. But the reason why I like that trade more than what you gave me is now you are offering the Grizzlies a point guard plus an elite wing. Um, and so now you still have one of the best starting lineups in the league and a first round pick that you can either deal or use to add to your depth. I'm still saying no, but the inclusion of Al Horford to me means nothing. Because, yes, the Grizzlies would love a veteran presence, but the front court is where they actually have depth, particularly once Brandon Clark returns from injury. Um, and I just don't know if Al Horford is going to have any impact by next year's playoffs, and certainly not in 2 years. But Derek
Yeah.
White, that guy seems like he's got more in the bag than even what he showed us in a somewhat limited role on the Celtics this season. But I'm still probably saying no. It's just if it was White instead of Horford, I'm at least going to answer the phone.
Yeah. I would also like to point out that me and or King and I were talking about this much before Kendrick Perkins said anything on national media. So,
It's true.
yeah, just letting y'all know that. I swear to God, Kendrick Perkins just gets on Twitter before the game and just figures out what he's going to say. Anyway, that's beside the point. One thing I will just push back on real quick. I hesitate to think about these trades in vacuums, right? Where you talk about Jaylen Brown kind of in this one for one kind of trade machine world. But I think to think about how Jaylen Brown maybe fits in with a Desmond Bain or a Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't think he fits in well. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he fits in well with those guys. I'm just saying I think that he solves some issues in providing a solid wing that D Bain and Jaren Jackson can play off of more effectively. And even though he's ball dominant, he's much less ball dominant than Ja. So I think there's something to be said about some sort of maybe a slightly better chemistry with those three guys
Nah,
than than Ja Morant.
no. I got to
Let me
wholeheartedly
rephrase.
disagree with that.
Well, hold on. Let me rephrase it.
Okay, I'll give
I'm
you a
not
chance to
saying I'm
rephrase.
not saying Jaylen Brown wouldn't. Um, I'm not saying Jaylen Brown would like drastically improve the team. I'm saying Jaylen Brown, like thinking about in the vacuum of the trade as John Morant, or think about the trade in a vacuum, right? Is not as beneficial as thinking about how these two guys could fit into the culture of the team. Rather, that being said, I agree. I don't think we should take the trade. I think John Morant's a much better player. I just hesitate to think about the trade in terms of getting players in and getting players out without thinking about the chemistry of the team.
Well, and that's actually my biggest point about why the Grizzlies should not trade Ja is I truly don't believe you could find a better three-man fit of under 25 stars than John Morant, Desmond Bain, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Because you
Really?
have an elite point guard creator. You have an elite wing shooter who's growing into his role as a defender too in Desmond Bane, and an elite defensive big who can also stretch the floor in Jaren Jackson Jr. So I'm not saying that I do believe they are the best under 25 core. I'm not saying that they're the best three-man fit in the NBA, but if you're trying to build a franchise for the long haul, I don't know how you could pick three players who, even just based on positions and based on skill set, fit better